Alrighty, everybody, how's everybody doing tonight? I'm just going to lead you through a little review of demand tonight, just to, get your brains thinking about it again, because since we've been working on the core the last couple days, you may have already, vomited it out of your brain. So let's just go through the laws of demand and the concepts behind it real quick, and just so you can kind of get this back in your brains a little bit. So, what is demand? Demand is, right, the different quantities that people are willing and able to buy at different prices, right? So you demand coffee, right, because you're teenagers and you like coffee, so do I, right? So you have a high demand for that product. Right, so demand is a microeconomic concept, meaning microeconomic, like microscope, small, deals with the individual decisions, small scale. Okay, so you're not looking at the government or how the government regulates the economic policies or large firms or global policies. You're looking at small firms, small corporations, and individual decisions. You guys making the decisions. The relationship between, let's say, a grocery store and the person going out to buy groceries. That kind of relationship. Right. Whereas macroeconomics, large corporations and the government setting tax policies, fiscal policy, monetary policy, all stuff we'll talk about in the next unit. You need to understand how these work together because that's how capitalism works. You have to understand that. So the law of demand, which we talked about, right, is that price increases as the demand the demand will decrease, right? So it's an inverse relationship, right? So one goes up, the other goes down, right? So if the price of an iPhone goes from $199 to $599, the quantity demanded of that iPhone is going to go down because people are not willing to pay $599 for an iPhone. Now, inversely, when the iPhone 5C gets dropped to a penny because the new one is coming out, the demand for that product is going to go up because people are going to go, well, it may not be the newest phone, but it's still only a penny. So the quantity demanded will increase. One goes up, the other goes down. Inverse relationship. So when you chart a demand curve, right? A demand curve is at what price, how much will people demand? So quantity that consumers will demand at each and every price shows how the price influences the quantity. It's always a downward sloping line. So if we were to chart it right now, it would be from like this, right? You see that? Because, why? Because it is an inverse relationship. So it has to be downward sloping if to illustrate as the price rises, the quantity demanded will decrease. Now there's two different things that can change the quantity demanded. Now there's a difference between quantity demanded and change in demand. So a change in quantity demanded is caused by only the change in the price of the product. Everything else stays the same. Now this is illustrated on the demand curve by moving it up or down or increasing it or decreasing it along the existing demand curve. You don't need to shift the curve. You don't need to look at all new price points because it's only at that specific price. So if the demand for a cup of coffee, quantity demanded for a cup of coffee at $2.99 is 10 cups, right? Then they change it to $3.99. The only thing that's changing is that specific price point. So you don't need to look at shifting it or drawing a whole new line. The only change is that specific price. Now, change in demand is different because this is determined by anything that is not to do with the price. So we'll talk about those shifters in a second, right? So it can be change in income, multitude of things, trends, right? So this is where at every price point the demand is going to go up or go down, increase or decrease, just based on these non-price determinants. Right? So here is an example of change in quantity demanded, right? So the original price point A, now shifting to price point B, so the demand is going to increase. It's only this change, right? So you're not moving it up or down, you're shifting it on the line because the quantity demanded here and the quantity demanded here staying the same. Now versus change in demand, where at every price point along the curve, the quantity demanded has changed. That's why we talk about shifting the line or moving the point up and down the line. That's the difference. Right, so here's an example. I got a little crazy there. If the price of an iPhone decreases, the quantity of the demanded iPhones would increase. So here's the original price point. Now the price of the phone has gone down, so it's moving down the curve, and more iPhones will be demanded. Right, here's another example. Movie prices go from $10.50 to $15. The price is going to go up, so the demand will go down. Now, a demand curve to shift is the overall demand, right? So these are non-price determinants. So can be change in income, right? So whether it be you got a pay raise or you lost your job, so you don't have income, right? Change in number of consumers, meaning this is a lot of times summer places. So you go to the beach, you go to Sea Isle, or you go to Barnegat Bay, right? Those are seasonal towns. So in the summer months, they see an increase in demand for their goods and services at all prices because there are just more people there. But in, let's say, January, February, you're going to see a decrease because no one's going to the beach in those months. It's too cold. Right. Trends is another thing. So advertising trends, news reports, all affect consumer tastes. So, you know, hipsters, right? Now, all of a sudden, we're starting to see a trend towards getting records back because it's the cool thing to do again, right? Whereas in 10, 15 years ago, the demand for those was down. So now you can, they can charge more for a record. I think I bought one for $30 last week because people are willing to pay for it again. Consumer expectations, right? So we think Black Friday, right? Right now the demand for probably your big budget Christmas items like your TVs, your cars are probably down because the consumer knows that give me like 3 more weeks, Black Friday, all the cyber deals, we're going to get a better deal. So you're going to see that decrease at all prices. Substitute goods, right? So the change in price of one product in a pair of goods can cause the demand curve to shift for the other good. So the example they gave us in the book was tacos and burritos. So if the price of a burrito increases, the law of demand says that fewer burritos are going to be purchased because they're too expensive, but a product that's similar or substitute would see, as in tacos, all the prices would shift up because people are going, well, I want to get Mexican food, but burritos are too expensive. Tacos are similar enough, so the demand shifts to tacos. Complementary goods, similar, right? So things that are complement each other. So the example would be hamburgers and buns, right? So the price of hamburgers increases, the law of demand would say that fewer hamburgers would be purchased, right? But on the other side of that, you're going to see the shift, you're going to see a decrease in demand for hamburger buns because they go together. Very rarely you buy hamburger buns without having hamburgers. So, okay, and in conclusion here, change in demand is everything is equal. One of these factors that are non-price determining, meaning the price is staying the same, there's things outside of price influencing the demand. So at each and every price, the quantity demanded increases or decreases. All right, cool. Hopefully that you found this helpful, and tomorrow night I'll post something on supply to get our brains back in mode of supply and demand. Have a wonderful night, and don't run with scissors.